Good afternoon, welcome to VANIK-IAS, and we will discuss current affairs of August. Consider, it's about, the question is about anemia. It is a condition in, consider the following statements. It is a condition in which number of red blood cells is insufficient to meet body's physiological requirements. This is right. In India, anemia is most prevalent among children, among children from uh, 6 to 59 months, nearly 67%. It is also prevalent among the women, right? Around 50, more than 55% of women are suffering from anemia. Anemia means the number of blood cells and their oxygen carrying capacity is insufficient. Number of red blood cells and their oxygen carrying capacity is insufficient in case of anemia. It is both seen in the case of children and also in case of women. In India, anemia is caused mostly by deficiency by vitamin B12. No, although vitamin B12 is a component, there is also other. The most is iron deficiency, right? It is iron deficiency. The reason is the most important reason of anemia is iron deficiency. There is also other reasons like vitamin B12 or vitamin A deficiencies or chronic inflammation, parasitic infections. This may be reason of uh, anemia. So one and two only options are right. Next. Which one? Consider the following phase. South Korea. Which one? How many of them are um, incorrectly matched? Right. One is South Korea gods of Odisha. Kunthankulam bird sanctuary of Tamil Nadu. South Korea is gods. It is in Mahanadi in Odisha. Yes, this is right. And near there is Tikarpada Tiger Reserve. Right. Tikarpada and South Korea Tiger Reserve. Next is uh, Kunthakulam bird sanctuary. It's in Tamil Nadu. Kunthakulam Bird Sanctuary. It's a bird sanctuary in Tamil Nadu. It is a congregation of migratory and local water birds. This is also right. Next, mm, Uday Martandapuram Bird Sanctuary. Uday Martandapuram Bird Sanctuary. It's in Tamil Nadu. It's not in Andhra Pradesh. So this is wrong. And Rangana Thitu Bird Sanctuary, that is in Karnataka. This is right. So only one pair is wrong. That is Uday Martandapuram Bird Sanctuary, which is in Tamil Nadu. Right. So only one pair is incorrect. That is B is the answer. Which of the following is not commitment of India in Glasgow summit? Glasgow summit, that is what we call as COP26, right? It happened in Scotland. It is Glasgow of Scotland, right? Last year. Which of the following is not a commitment of India in as Panchamrit? There are five commitments Panchamrit in Glasgow. India will increase its non-fossil energy by 500 gigawatt by 2030. This is right. This is made a commitment by India. India will meet 50% of its energy requirements from renewable energy by 2030. This is also right. It will reduce its carbon intensity of its economy more than 45%. India will achieve target of net zero carbon emission by the year 2045. This is wrong. Net zero carbon emission will be achieved by 2070. China also promised by 2070 net zero carbon emission will be achieved. Net zero means total amount of carbon emitted to the atmosphere will be absorbed by the carbon sink. Carbon sink means your forest. These are carbon sinks, right? Those which absorb carbon dioxide. See, these commitment are called as NDC or nationally determined commitment. They are initially the most important was Paris Climate Deal in 2000. Paris Climate Deal, that is COP 25, COP 21 Paris Climate Deal in 2015, where India first proposed INDC, that is intended nationally determined commitment. We said that around 168 gigawatt of energy, 168 gigawatt of energy, mm, 168 of gigawatt of energy to be produced, and India has also achieved that commitment, right? India is the only country who has achieved the commitment of Paris Climate Deal. Right? Paris Climate Deal, it has the objective to reduce the reduce the temperature of world by 2 degree to pre-industrial 2 degree to pre-industrial level. Right. Next, the Incheon Commitment Strategy of 2013 or 2022 refers to which of the following statements? Incheon Commitment and Strategy. It is regarding empowerment of disabled persons. Empowerment of disabled persons means it is it is basically in India and West India and Indo-Pacific region, right? In Indo-Pacific region, this is a in ministerial conference, ministerial commitment, first ministerial commitment for the development of disabled person. Now we use rather than the disabled, we use the word specially able. Whenever you write mains answers, you must use specially able word rather than the disabled. So this is a commitment in Indo-Pacific region, and it has around 10 goals, right? 10 goals for the development of specially able people. So B is the answer, that is initial commitment. With reference to Marburg virus, what do you mean by Marburg virus? Marburg virus, consider the following statement. Fruit bats of the Pteropodidae family are considered as a natural host of Marburg virus. Marburg is a region of Germany, right? Germany and Frankfurt. In Germany and Frankfurt, this Marburg virus suddenly it came into news, right? So fruit bats, yes, this is right. Fruit bats are the natural hosts of Marburg virus. First time it is seen is Guinea region of Africa. First time it is seen in the Guinea region. Earlier there was Ebola virus. Just after the Ebola virus declared free of Ebola, Guinea, this Guinea, again Marburg virus came into news, right? Okay. The treatment is to neutralize the virus, but a range of blood products and immune therapies are currently under development. The treatment to neutralize the virus, there is treatment to neutralize the virus, but a range of yes, they are under development. Second statement is right. Marburg virus is transmitted to people from fruit bats, yes, and there is no possibility of human transmission. This is wrong. See, whenever there is no possibility of human to human transmission, that will not come into news because rarely that will not come into, because that will not be a severe case. That will not be a severe case, right? Unless there is man human to human transmission, we do not have the transmission will not be huge. That's why it will not be news in general. So this is wrong. There is most of these viruses they have possibility of human to human transmission only in case here in case of direct contact only human to human transmission is possible. Right? So one and two options are right. The term Karakoram anomaly, often heard in news, refers to growth of Karakoram ranges, decline in relative altitude of Himalayan ranges, resistance to glacial melting in Karakoram ranges, absence of volcanoes in Karakoram ranges. Absence of volcanoes in Karakoram. What is this Karakoram anomaly actually? Karakoram anomaly means generally what happens because of climate change and global warming, glaciers are melting everywhere, right? But in case of Karakoram Valley, Karakoram ranges, it is witnessed that the amount of glaciers that is increasing instead of decreasing. So it is an unusual phenomenon as compared to other glacier melting all over the world. That's why resistance to glacier melting, right? There is resistance to glacier melting in Karakoram ranges, that is called as Karakoram anomaly. Anomaly means it's a different phenomenon which usually do not happen in case of other usually do not happen in case of other cases. So C is the answer, right? E-Uthan project. So this is Karakoram anomaly that says that there is increase of glaciers rather than melting. The E-Uthan project recently seen in the news tells about what is this E-Uthan project? Capturing online data based on funds allocated under scheduled caste sub-plan. What is this e-Uthan project? It is capturing online data based on funds allocated under scheduled caste sub-plan. Right. That is e-Uthan project. Right. So data funds allocated on scheduled caste sub-plan, that is for development of scheduled caste, that will be monitored under e-Uthan project. Right. So A is the answer. Then consider the following statements. GI tag rose onion is given to the state of Maharashtra and GI tag for white onion is given to the state of Karnataka. Right? See, yes, this statement is wrong because GI tag for white onion it is given to Alibag in Maharashtra. It's not in rose onion. It is the reverse has been given. Rose onion in case of your white onion is given to GI tag for white onion is given to Alibag, Maharashtra. Alibag, Maharashtra GI tag for white onion is given to Alibag, Maharashtra. Right. It is a sweetness. It is famous for its sweetness. Right. That is in case of Maharashtra white onion. So this is white onion is to Maharashtra. Next, GI tag for rose onion. GI tag for rose onion. It is for Bangalore, Karnataka. Rose onion is GI tag for rose onion is in Bangalore, Karnataka. Right. Bangalore, Karnataka. Rose onions are not cultivated by any other place in India. You know. And this is also locally the local name is Gulabi Iruli. Rose onion, the local name is Gulabi Iruli. That is rose onion. Right. Okay. Next, other GI products of the state of Maharashtra are chiku, kesar, mango, and bananas. This is right. So second option is two option. Option two is right. The World Trade Organization led aid for trade flows in is particularly meant for least developed economies. Yes, it is particularly meant for aid for trade flows. Obviously, that is for least developed economies. India has received the highest aid in trade in 2020 from developed countries. Like both statements are right. World Trade Organization. So India is receiving maximum amount of aid from the has received maximum amount of aid from WTO. Consider the following statements. Okay, bioluminescence. Bioluminescence, right? It's a phenomenon. What is this bioluminescence? Bioluminescence that takes place inside living organism. It's a chemical reaction that takes place inside living organism, and light is produced. Yes, because of light, there is a chemical situation, chemical reaction that takes place inside living organism. Right. What happens by this bioluminescence? It is also called as Marine. Remember, this bioluminescence is called as marine. It is observed in the nocturnal ocean surface during night time. In the ocean surface, it is observed. It is a steady whitish glow. A whitish glow is observed during night time. This because of bioluminescence. It is observed a whitish glow on the marine surface. That is also called as marine. Right? around two or three milky seas occur per year. This is also called as milky sea. Two or three milky seas occur in a year, right? Exceeding around 1 lakh kilometer square area. So persist for days up to weeks. So this milky sea or marine or bioluminescence, it creates a whitish picture on the ocean surface that extend around 1 lakh square kilometer surface area and that exists for certain days and weeks. That is called as bioluminescence. Bioluminescence occurs when there is low kind wind speed. No, it is not low wind speed. For this, yes, strong easterly winds is required. So it's a strong easterly winds, strong easterly winds on the eastern side. Strong easterly wind on the eastern side. So one only is the answer. CRISPR-based genetic engineering technology can be used in which of the following areas? CRISPR-based genetic engineering technology can be used in which of the following areas? That is, yes, restraint population. What is this CRISPR-based genetic engineering technology? Gene can be, it is molecular seizure. It is a technology of molecular seizure by which certain parts of our gene can be cut down or we can add. That is genetical engineering. Right. It can be used to reduce the population of yes, to restrain the mosquitoes that infect humans. This technology can be used. It can be also used in case of enhancing the crop production. Yes, come by construction of your GM crops, by GM crops making GM crops by changing their genetic materials. It can be also used. Improve production of biofuels. Obviously, it can be used because GM crops that can be used for production of biofuels. Living imaging of DNA or live imaging of DNA RNA. Live imaging of DNA RNA. So all the options are right here. Whenever you see there is can, then generally they are answer. All the options are right. What are the applications of navigation with Indian constellation? Navy, or it is also called as IRNSS. What do you mean by IRNSS? Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System. Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, IRNSS system, or navigation with Indian constellation. That is NAVIC system. It is India's indigenous system. Indigenous system of navigation. System of navigation. Indigenous system of navigation. Next, terrestrial, aerial, and marine navigation. This system, yes, it includes terrestrial, aerial, or marine navigation, disaster management, vehicle tracking and fleet management, geodetic data capture. What can be done? Yes, it is a yes. This can be it is navigation. So this it can cause terrestrial, aerial, and marine navigation. Right. Suppose this is the India up to 1500 kilometer. It can provide us the navigation. Right. That is so it has a power to give navigation around 1500 kilometer from India's 1500 kilometer from India's border. It can also help in disaster management by providing crucial information. So these are true. Vehicle tracking and fleet management that also can be done by the navigation of Indian constellation, because it should ensure this is very important regarding our external security or maritime security, right? External security or maritime security. Geodetic data capture, yes, it can provide geospatial data. So this is the mm, widespread and comprehensive and widespread applications of NAVIC. So all the options are right here. Consider the following statements regarding Cumberland Line. Cumberland Line is internationally recognized boundary space which lies around 100 kilometers above mean sea level. 100 kilometers of mean sea level. This is right. Just above Cumberland Line is just above the mean sea level. International Space Station orbits the no, this is wrong. International Space Station, it orbits around 400 kilometer, right? 400 kilometer above the mean sea level. So that is that do not orbits the common line. So only one option is the right answer. International Space Station, it is one of the biggest space station, right? That is between biggest that is a constellation of very where nine crew members can also make their research. That is placed in low Earth orbit (LEO). Low Earth orbit range is 180 kilometer to 2000 kilometer. Low Earth orbit generally that rotates around 400 kilometer, right? Your medium Earth orbit is from 2000 kilometer to 35,790 kilometers. That is your and your geosynchronous orbit. Geosynchronous orbit, synchronous orbit is from 35,790 kilometers to that is the it is after your 35,790 kilometers, where especially the communication satellites are used are utilized in geosynchronous orbit, right? Then measure Earth's changing ecosystem and ice masses. Provide information about sea level rise and groundwater. Detects movement of the Earth's surface. Yes, yes. Sorry. Again, the information about your International Space Station. ISSC is a big satellite, right? Constellation of satellites that is made up of by that is your Roscosmos or the Russia Space Station, Roscosmos and JAXA, right? Okay. JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency, right? JAXA, and that is by Canadian Space Agency, Canadian Space Agency, NASA, and European Space Agency. European Space Agency. It is in news, right? It was in news because Russia is deciding to come out of International Space Station, whose primary responsibility was to clear the space debris and detecting the navigation direction of International Space Station. Now it is coming. It is decided to come. It is proposed to come out of the International Space Station. So this is Roscosmos, JAXA, Canadian Space Agency, NASA, and European Space Agency. These five space agencies, they have constituted International Space Station. Right. In low Earth orbit, our we are also sending our Gaganyaan, right? Gaganyaan, the indigenous man mission of India, the first indigenous man mission of India, which is going to be launched by 2023. First half that will be launched in low Earth orbit. It will move around 400 kilometers. Around three crew members. Three crew members will board in Gaganyaan. It is the first indigenous man mission of India, right? Then then there is NISA. Okay. Next we'll discuss what is NISA. NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar. The full form of NISA is NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar. NISA will be used to measure Earth's changing ecosystem and ice masses, provide information about sea level rise and the groundwater, detect movements of Earth's surface. All the surface. It is a Earth observation satellite. It's a very high powerful Earth observation satellite. It can observe the various features of Earth even if during the night time, even if there is a cloudy night, even if there is fog. it doesn't matter. It can take clear picture of our surface. So it can give information regarding changing ecosystem, climate change, and ice masses. It can also provide information regarding sea level rise and groundwater. It can be applied for the. It can also provide information regarding disaster management. It can also detect the movements of the Earth. So all the options are right regarding NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar or NISA, which is going to be launched by 2023. Right. In 2023, we have news that is Aditya 1, which is the Aditya 1, Chandrayaan 3 recently. Chandrayaan 3, Aditya 1, and Gaganyaan. These two will launch and NISA, Gaganyaan and NISA. These four will be launched in by 2023. Right. In 2024, we have Venus mission. So you please go through all this in detail. Aditya 1, it is India's solar mission, right? That will L1 is the Lagrange 1. L1 which that will establish in Lagrange point 1. The Lagrange point 1 means the point at which the total gravitational force of Earth and Sun cancels each other. So Aditya 1 will be settled in Lagrange 1, and that will give various information regarding solar corona. Solar corona means those regions around sun where coronal mass ejections are coming out. Coronal mass ejections, that are CME, coronal mass ejections, right? That are called as CMEs, right? That is hot bubbles that come out of the solar surface, and the temperature of solar corona is much more as compared to the sun surface. Remember, the temperature of solar corona is much more as compared to the sun surface, right? So nobody knows the reason, but that is what. So these things to observe all these things. Aditya 1, that is the indigenous solar mission of India, going to be launched by 2023, and Chandrayaan 3, and that is the moon mission. Gaganyaan, that is the indigenous man mission. NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar, that is both by NASA and ISRO, that is the Earth observation satellite to be launched by 2023. Okay. Now we'll discuss some prelims facts. After that, we'll discuss this international relation, the issue between China and Taiwan. Right. The number of questions we are discussing here will be increased to 30. So, the first hour will usually will discuss the prelims questions, and we'll discuss then. We'll come to the main stuff. 10 more Indian wetlands got Ramsar tag. Ramsar Convention is started in 1971 in Iran, right? 1971 in Iran, Ramsar Convention started for conservation of wetlands of international importance. Wetlands of international importance, right? The difference between wetlands is it is not as depth. It has its depth is low as compared to the lake, that are wetland. So those wetlands, whose for conservation of wetlands, this Ramsar convention has been established. Okay. International importance, taking number of such sites to 64. We have 64 Ramsar sites. 10 new Ramsar sites include 6 of the Tamil Nadu. One is Goa, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, and Odisha are included in the Ramsar tag. India and China have now most of the number of wetlands in the national importance, with 10 more Indian sites entering the Ramsar, taking into 64. So in total, we have 64 wetlands. Right? Next, Ramsar site aims developing and maintaining the international network of wetlands, which is important for conservation of global biological diversity, for sustaining human life through the maintenance of the ecosystem, components, processes, and benefits. Good. Yes. Aims developing and maintaining international network of wetlands. It maintains international network of wetlands which is important for the conservation of global biodiversity and for sustaining human life. Because wetlands they have various functions like for example soil conservation, they have fisheries, there is by conservation of biodiversity, there is pollution control, all these things functions, wetlands have these functions, and that's why they are important. The 10 new sites, 6 in Tamil Nadu, one each in Goa, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh and Odisha, cover an area of 1 lakh, that is around 12, cover an area of 12 lakh 50,361 hectares in the country. 10 new sites, 10 new sites are declared. The designation of these sites will help conservation and management of wetlands and wise use for the resources. Now, India stands in the first position jointly with China with the number of wetlands that present. Right, the new Indian wetlands have coveted tag are what are these new Indian wetlands that are declared as Ramsar sites? They are Kunthakulam Bird Sanctuary, Gulf of Mannar Marine Biosphere Reserve. Kunthakulam Bird Sanctuary is in Tamil Nadu. Gulf of Mannar Marine Biosphere in near Pak State, in Gulf of Mannar between the Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka. Right. Bembadu Wetland Complex, Bilod Bird Sanctuary, uh, Vedantangal Bird Sanctuary, Udaya Martandapuram Bird Sanctuary, that is also in Tamil Nadu, Satkosia Gorge in Odisha, Nandalok in Goa, Ranganathitu Bird Sanctuary in Karnataka, Sirpur Wetland in Madhya Pradesh. They have included in the Ramsar sites of wetlands. India is aiming of getting Ramsar tag of for 75 of its wetland at the 70 years of independence. Right? On the 7th year of independence, India is aiming to get Ramsar tag of 75 of its uh, wasteland. Remember Ramsar site? The Ramsar Convention started in 1971 for conservation of wetlands of international importance. Next topic is Anemia Mukt Bharat. What is this Anemia Mukt Bharat? The government of India implements Anemia Mukt Bharat AMB strategy under Poshan Abhiyan to reduce the prevalence of anemia in the country. To reduce the prevalence of anemia in the country, government of India implements Anemia Mukt Bharat strategy under Poshan Abhiyan. Right? Okay, it's a condition in which number of red blood cells insufficient to meet body's physiological requirements. That is varies by age, sex, and altitude, smoking habits, and during pregnancy. Right? If smoking habits increase, then anemia chances increases. During pregnancy, also anemia chances increases. Right? That also varies on the basis of age and altitude. It is in which number of blood cells it is insufficient. Right? After the COVID pandemic, we have witnessed that around more than 55% of women in India, according to NFHS survey, are suffering from anemia. Anemia in pregnancy is associated with postpartum hemorrhage, neural tube defects, and low birth weight, premature births, stillbirths, maternal deaths. Right? So, neural tube defects, postpartum hemorrhage, and low birth weight, premature birth, stillbirth, all these things can be utilized if anemia is witnessed in the pregnancy. The manifestations of anemia include fatigue, weakness, dizziness, drowsiness, and impaired cognitive development of the children, increased morbidity. So they may die in our early age. There is impaired cognitive development means if there will be bloodlessness, the development of the child, the mental development of the child will not be sufficient, right? Deficiencies which cause anemia include iron, vitamin B12, folate, and vitamin A. Predominantly, the it is based on iron. If iron is deficient, then there is chances of anemia. After that, there is other folate vitamin and vitamin B12 are responsible for anemia. According to National Family Health Survey, anemic prevalence across all ages extremely varying in India from 30 all ages from 30% to 69%. They are varying. As per NFHS 5, prevalence of anemia is 25% in men and 57% in women, and 31% in adolescent boys, 59% in adolescent girls, and 52% in pregnant women, 61.67% in case of children. Right. So it is between adolescent boys and adolescent girls. The anemia is almost double. Reduction of anemia is one of the most important objectives of Poshan Abhijan and National Nutritional Mission. Right. Poshan Abhijan or National Nutritional Mission, reduction of anemia, most important objectives. Various interventions under Anemia Mukt Bharat program. Government of India launched Anemia Mukt Bharat strategy to reduce anemia by 3% a year in the vulnerable age groups such as women, children, and adolescents. Right? Such as women, children, and adolescents, which is in case of girls, adolescent girls, it is around 60%. Right? So it is Anemia Mukt Bharat strategy. The strategy to reduce anemia by 3% every year. Various interventions. What are the various steps that are taken for reduction of anemia? Prophylactic iron and folic acid supplementation in all age groups. Right? Prophylactic iron and folic acid supplementation in all six target age groups. All six target age groups, that is the children, adolescents, women, girls, and boys. Okay. Intensified year-round behavior change communication. BCC program. Behavior change communication means what is this behavior change? Because anemia is many times it is because of the behavior. Many times many people are not interested to eat nutritious food. Right? Food is only many times it is based on taste, or they are more and more they are eating the preservatives food, so that there is anemia. Improving compliance to iron, folic acid supplementation, and deworming. Iron and folic acid supplementation and deworming, that is also important. Enhancing appropriate infant and young child feeding practices. Appropriate infant and young child feeding practices. That is another program, that is MA, that is mother's absolute affection. MA, that is to increase the breastfeeding for infants. Right. The rural children, especially there is lack of awareness. That's why the nutritious intake of the children that is not properly. And the nutrition intake before the age of during the childhood, that is predominantly before the age of 8 years, that determines the cognitive development, the mental development of the children. Right, so it is also important. So this Poshan or this Anime Mukt Bharat program, Poshan Abhiyan, Ma Vision, this all are important for the whole life because that determines the cognitive development of a child, right? Future and how he will be human potential in his future. Encouraging increase in the intake of iron-rich food through diet diversity, quantity, frequency, and fortified foods with focus on harnessing locally available resources. Iron-rich food through diet diversity, quantity, frequency, and fortified foods with focus on harnessing locally available resources. Ensuring delayed cord delayed cord clamping after delivery by 3 minutes uh, ensuring delayed cord clamping after delivery by 3 minutes in health facilities, and iron rich food, biodiversity, quantity and frequency, and fortified foods with focus and harnessing local available resources. Testing and treatment of anemia using digital methods and point of care treatment with special focus on pregnant women and school-going adolescents. Addressing non-nutritional causes of anemia in endemic pockets with special focus on malaria, uh, hemoglobinopathies, and chlorosis. Right? Non-nutritional causes of anemia that in endemic pockets, special focus on malaria. Right? So such diseases of malaria and chlorosis they can also cause anemia in certain human beings. Then management of severe anemia in pregnant women undertaken by administration of 4 iron sucrose on blood transfusion. Severe anemia. In case of severe anemia, then we have to iron the administration of iron sucrose and also transfusion. They need to be given blood, right? In case of many women when they undergo various major operations, they uh, it's almost become important to provide them blood. Providing incentives to ANM for identification and follow-up pregnant women with severe anemia in high priority districts. In high priority district, providing incentive to ANM. Training and orientation of medical officers and frontline workers on newer maternal health and Anemia Mukt Bharat guidelines. Training and orientation of medical officers and frontline workers on newer maternal health and Anemia Mukt Bharat guidelines. So there need to be awareness in rural areas. Many times what we witness is there is lack of awareness in rural areas regarding the food pattern, right? They don't know thus the repercussions of if they do not want eat proper food. In case of many people, and all in some cases there is poverty, but in some cases there is also lack of awareness. In some cases, there is choice also because of the modern dietary plans of in case of women to become the more and more slim. There is also the project the issues of calorie deficit or anemia situation. Field level awareness by ASAs through community mobilization activities, IEC and BCC activities. So awareness campaign is also important by accredited social health service health activists. That is also important that need to be done. Then what are the measures taken? Includes what are the measures taken? Working with other line departments and ministries for strengthening implementations. Other line department and ministries for strengthening implementation. Engaging National Center of Excellence, advanced research on anemia control at AIMS Delhi capacity building of healthcare providers. Capacity building of healthcare providers. Strengthening supply chain and logistics. Right? Working the yes, ministry strengthening implementation. Implementation is important. Many times there is lack of implementation. Although the schemes and are done at policy level, because the policies are right, there is lack of implementation. Right? Lacuna is in case of implementation. Engaging National Center of Excellence and advanced research on anemia control aims daily in capacity building of healthcare providers. The healthcare providers they need to be given proper training and capacity building. There should be awareness among themselves so that they can go to the rural areas and spread the awareness among the masses in the deprived sections of the society. Development of AMB training toolkit for capacity building healthcare providers in anemia management. Okay. Toolkit capacity building for healthcare providers in anemia management. Launch of Anemia Mukt Bharat e-training modules to facilitate training of healthcare providers through virtual platforms. Why it is important? Because in case of last mile, in case of hilly areas, hilly terrain, and remote areas, it is not possible for the healthcare persons to come and take the training. That's why Ananya Mukt Bharat virtual trainings are also important. E-training can be provided to those ASA workers or Anganwadi teachers so that they can facilitate the awareness in rural areas. Next, next is cabinet note for climate pledges. Right. Cabinet note India ratified the pledges made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Glasgow summit in November 2021 to accelerate the country's reliance on renewable energy, to power economy to effectively free from use of fossil fuel by 2070. By 2070. Okay. So Glasgow summit happened in 2000. In 2021, based on earlier we had a target in Paris climate deal, that is COP21 in 2015. India has intended nationally determined commitments, that is to provide, that is to create 168 gigawatt of renewable energy. And India had achieved that target. India is the only country in the world that is represented that it has achieved the target in the Glasgow summit that happened in November 2021. And the pledges and the new pledges, ambitious pledges of that is made by the Prime Minister of India in the Glasgow summit regarding its reliance on renewable energy, especially development of solar energy, nuclear energy, and wind energy, hydro energy. All these are renewable energy, which is not based on the conventional source of energy, that is coal and petroleum. So India has made another ambitious target. The most ambitious target is, that is net zero emission, right? Net carbon emission, making net carbon emission to zero. Net zero carbon emission will be achieved by 2070. By 2070, total amount of carbon that is emitted by India will be absorbed by total amount of carbon that will be absorbed by the carbon sink. The Union Cabinet, chaired by PM Modi, approved an update for India's National Determined Contribution, that is NDC, India's National Determined Contribution. Mr. Modi has laid out five commitments in that are called as Panchamrit as a references its navy. India will increase non-fossil fuels energy capacity to 500 gigawatt by 2030. So 500 gigawatt by 2030 will be made from non-fossil energy, that is the renewable energy, will meet 50% of its energy requirements from renewable energy by 2030. By 2030, 50% of our energy requirements will come renewable energy. That will not be based on carbon emission or petrol. That will not be based on coke or coal or the petroleum. Right? Will reduce the total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons from now till 2030. Reduce the total projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons by 2030. Right. Will reduce carbon intensity of its economy by more than 45%. Carbon intensity of its economy will reduce the carbon intensity of its economy by more than 45%. So these are the ambitious target. Another ambitious target is we will achieve the target of net zero emission by 2070, when there will be no carbon dioxide emitted from the energy sources. No net carbon dioxide emission. That means even if there is carbon dioxide emission, that will be absorbed by the carbon sink as well. The cabinet approval only mentions two of these three promises, namely that India is committed to reduce the carbon intensity of its GDP by 45% by 2030 from the 2005 level, achieving 50% of cumulative electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel based energy resources by 2030. These are the cabinet approval given, right? That is achieving 50% of cumulative electric power capacity from non-fossil fuel based energy. While the nationally determined commitments reflected India's commitment to sustainable development, they were a climb down from ambition India had expressed in the Glasgow. They were a climb down from the ambition India that expressed in the Glasgow. India's updated NDC does not include all the promises made at COP26 in Glasgow. India's updated NDC does not include all the promises made in the COP26 Glasgow. Right. Okay. Next. What are the measures taken? It includes the working with other departments and ministries for strengthening the implementation. Okay, sorry, next. So now we'll discuss the main topic, that is China, India, Taiwan, China, and US. Now that is in hot topic because Nancy Pelosi has visited the Taiwan and there is a issue. The Speaker of the United States House Representative Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the United States House Representative Nancy Pelosi arrived in Taiwan for what he calls a show of American solidarity with the island, defying repeated warnings from the Beijing and fueling a new round of US-China tensions. This visit took place at a time when US-China relations are the poorest in decades. In a phone call with the President, President Xi Jinping has warned the US against any unilateral moves that could change the island's status. Right. See, the China and US relationship has worsened since the starting of the Trump regime. Right, Trump regime it has imposed various taxes on the Chinese manufacturing goods because there is a huge trade deficit. By causing huge trade deficit, there is a trade war that started between both the countries, between of USA and China. Right, and the trade war also caused huge losses for both the countries. Right, and the world economy as well. There is a trend of protectionism that developed in since the Trump government came. When during the Joe Biden time also, and after that, relationship continued, that become worsened, and at present also USA is insecure with respect to China, and that's why there is a continuous competition between USA and China. China is a rising power in terms of PPP. It is almost being equivalent to the USA economy, right? In terms of purchasing power parity, right? So after a few years, we can say that China is a rising power. It will become a developed country, right? And also, the Chinese economy is rising. There is it's ambitious project like One Belt policy are very ambitious projects. It will increase its world. It has increased its hegemony in all the world. Now there is hegemony of USA. What is this hegemony? Hegemony means powerful, the superpower. USA is the superpower. The topmost power is USA. Right? It has a huge military power throughout the world. Throughout the world, it has military bases. It has uncomparable military power as compared to China. But so far as economic power is concerned, China is much power. Both the countries are permanent members of NATO Security Councils. And also now the clout of China is increasing in the areas in regions of Indian Ocean, right? There are various issues, right? For example, recently China has signed in Solomon Islands, just in the Indo-Pacific, they have signed agreement on the Solomon Islands, right? Because USA, why USA is insecure? It is insecure because China is rising, it's a very good growth, and also there is ambitious project like China-Pakistan economic corridor, which will strengthen its economy. There is also One Belt One Road policy that will also strengthen the Chinese economy. So China is very strong with China has a very strong base of manufacturing. It is getting huge investments from European countries and also from Japan and also from Japan. So its manufacturing base is very strong. Its export share is very high in case of world market, especially it is dominating the other countries as far as manufacturing good is concerned. And the US China, the India China trade also are almost it has reached equivalent to the US and equivalent to the United States and China, United States and uh, equivalent to the United States and China trade, right? So to counter China, now, China, USA want to USA not want to lose its superpower status. It always want to remain the world hegemon, the superpower. Right. That's why USA is utilizing various tactics. For example, USA has started quad countries, or that is in case of Indo-Pacific region to counter China, to counter Chinese aggressiveness. It is also there is also many times it is seen that China is not obeying the international laws. It has violated the international laws in case of our South China Sea, in case of the directions of international arbitration in South China Sea. Right? It has disputes among it is a land grabbing state. China is a land grabbing state. It's authoritarian regime. It has disputed with the Asian countries. Right? It has disputed with the Asian countries. It has land disputes with India. Right? It is cooperating China for its strategic. China is cooperating the Pakistan for its strategic interest. It is violating international laws, right? By building China-Pakistan economic corridor in the disputed region between India and Pakistan. It's an authoritarian regime. It's not a democracy, and it has communist background, right? That's why obviously the capitalist country like US we have ideological conflict with China, and they see China as a threat to the established economic international order based on justice and democracy. They right. That's why India is also there is a animosity between India and China, and India is the ideal swing state for USA to fight against China. China is also increasing its maritime presence in case of India in Indian Ocean to play the role of net security provider. To counter China in West, USA has developed the West Quad, that is I2U2, that is Israel and India, United Nations and UAE, right? It is developing its relations in I to U2, right? It is also strengthening the relationship between Israel and the Arab countries. That is why Abraham Accord. Abraham Accord is a agreement signed between Israel and UAE. It is the first time agreement that is between UAE and Israel after the Yom Kippur War in 1960s. So that is very important. Why it is important? Because it's a breakthrough in the West Asia politics, that is establishing relations between Israel and the Arab countries, because there is so much conflict between Israel and Arab countries in the West Bank and Palestine region, disputed region of Palestine and the West Bank region. Okay, and the Golan Heights region. So now why USA is that is pivot to Asia policy. USA has a policy of pivot to Asia trying to counter China. USA do not want a strong China because China is a authoritarian design and it can be a threat to the world order and also to the USA, especially to provide in the maritime security, especially to the maritime security in Indian Ocean or Indo-Pacific area, right? Because it has already violated many such principles. Now, what is this one China policy? The weakness of China is its in that it is not a it is an authoritarian design. It's not a democracy. There is Xi Jinping. Right? There is Xi Jinping, the Chinese premier. Who is a very highly powerful leader of the world, and he has made himself equivalent powerful to even Mao. Right? It has amended the constitution. He has amended the constitution. Right? So it has a very high strong leadership. It has huge foreign exchange reserve. For example. China is providing huge amount of loan and investments and aid to the Asian countries. Right? China is making the other countries to fall into its debt. For example, in case of Sri Lanka, it is taking the military Sri Lankan ports for 100 years for the month on a port. It has taken for hundreds years. China has a policy of string of pulse around India. That means capturing various ports and harbors for its improvement for increasing its trade and for increase the trade and developing its military powers. China has also developed the Gadar port, right, for increase for its trade. So the behavior of China in the Indo-Pacific region and the world, it is making USA insecure, right? The power is shifting from USA to the China. And in that scenario, what is the weakness of China? As USA do not want such type of activities of China, USA want a weak China, right? Especially so far as power exercising is concerned, USA still want to dominate the world because USA think the world expects USA to dominate because China is the authoritarian country. So there should be a democracy, right? Based on shared value of humanity and prosperity, and there is a democracy. Now, how to make China weak? The one of the its major weakness is Taiwan, which is autonomous region of China, which is not fully controlled by China. Although China has been historically it has been placing its rights over the Taiwan. It is important to distinguish between one China principle. Important to distinguish between one China principle and one China policy. What is this one China principle and one China policy? To understand the cross Taiwan state problems, the People Republic of China follows one China principle. One China principle, a core belief that it sees Taiwan as an inalienable part of China. It is sole legitimate government in Beijing. The US acknowledges this position, but not necessarily in validity. Right? Validity means up to how long PRC, People Republic of China, will consider one China principle. Right? It after the position at present time it is the legitimate government over it is our Beijing, but it's do not acknowledge its validity. China has at present China is also the country with largest number of population and also it is a nuclear power, so it is not easy to make US the thing it want. Right? US acknowledges position but not necessarily its validity. The US instead follows one China policy. The US instead follow one China policy, meaning that PRC was and the only and is the only China with no recognition for Republic of China. It follows one China policy. It means that PRC was and the is the only China with no recognition for Republic of China, that is in Taiwan, right, as a separate sovereign entity. At the same time, US refuses to give PRC demands to recognize Chinese sovereignty over Taiwan. Right? It do not gives the demands to recognize the Chinese sovereignty over Taiwan, but it says that with no recognition for the people of China as a separate sovereign entity. It only acknowledges the Chinese position that Taiwan is a part of China. It only acknowledges the Chinese position but do not acknowledge the validity. Up to how many times it will exist, or up to how many times it will continue. The US has stuck to the position ever since and used the strategy ambiguity that creates to maintain the status quo and preserve the stability of the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan Strait. What is the genesis of China-Taiwan tensions? What is the genesis? How this tensions developed? It's at least the ROC was founded in 1912 following the collapse of Qing dynasty and 1911 revolution. ROC was founded Republic of China was founded in 1912 after the collapse of Qing dynasty and 1911 devolution. Dr. Sun Yat-sen, right, who assumed the presidency of ROC, soon succeeded by Wan Shikai. Taiwan was the Taiwan was at that time under Japanese colonial rule, having been ceded by the king following the 1895 Treaty of Shimonoseki. Right? After defeat of Japan in World War II, the ROC government began exercise jurisdiction over Taiwan in 1945. Right? So this jurisdiction over Taiwan is started after the 1945. After the communists won in civil war on the mainland, Mao Zedong proclaimed the founding of People Republic with its capital in Beijing in 1949. Communists owned civil war. They have killed so many Buddhists, they have killed so many other peoples, and the communists they owned the civil war, and Mao Zedong proclaimed the founding of the People Republic of China. That December, after PLA advanced into Sichuan province, Chiang Kai-shek, one of the Sun Yat-sen's lieutenants, retreated to islands Taiwan along with some 2 million nationalist soldiers. They retreated to island of Taiwan along with some 2 million nationalist soldiers. The Republic of China or Taiwan has exercised effective jurisdiction over main island and several outlying islands ever since, leaving Taiwan and China under the rule of different governments. So now different governments. The Taiwan state is only 130 kilometer of its state is only 130 kilometer at its shortest distance, in the mainland city of Xiamen in Fujian, only 2 kilometers from the Taiwanese controlled island kingdom. Until 1970s, US and most Western governments recognized the Republic of China as the government of all of China. The US and PRC established diplomatic relations in 1979, almost 30 years after the communists came to power. They are having three instances of disturbances in the Taiwan state in the 1954, 58, 59, 1995, 6. The peace has largely been maintained by the American strategic ambiguity. Due to American strategic ambiguity, that means no clear-cut information regarding those areas. So what has changed now? How did we get here? The domestic policy aspect of three countries, Taiwan, China, and the US. The domestic policy aspect of three countries have contributed to the situation. China. What China has done? In 2015, China initiated fast-breaking military reforms to convert the PLA into the world-class force by 2049. Right? To convert the PLA into a world-class force by 2049, China has initiated. One of China's stated national security objectives has been reunification of Taiwan. Right? Reunification of China, it has been one of the national objectives. Right? It is working like the autonomous region. There is a security for Taiwan. In his Chinese Communist Party (CCP) Centenary Speech 2021, President Xi said, resolving the Taiwan question and realizing China's complete reunification is a historic mission and an unshakable commitment of the Communist Party of China. So, the Communist Party of China has an unshakable commitment and a historic mission to resolving the Taiwan question and realizing a complete reunification with the Taiwan. So, country control over the Taiwan, it is the objective and unshakable commitment of the Communist Party of China. It is a future goal. Since September 2020, since September 2020, China has routinely sent aircraft to Taiwan's air defense identification zone. Meanwhile, between 2018 and 2020, she dropped the word peaceful while referring to reunification with Taiwan, underlying his aggressive approach to territorial dispute everywhere. So, in September 2020, China routinely sent aircraft to Taiwan's air defense identification zone. In 2018, in 20, dropped word peaceful while referring to reunification with Taiwan, underlying aggressive approach to territorial disputes everywhere. Right? Wherever territorial disputes, he wanted to peacefully, aggravate peacefully acquire those lands. Okay, what is the role of Taiwan? Democratic Progressive Party (DPP) candidate Tsai Ing-wen was elected president. In 2016, she initiated telephonic conversation with the US President-elect Donald Trump. First time ever since 1971, the two countries spoke at that level. So first time the Taiwan president speak with the head of the state. So see, this is not an easy thing. This is not an easy thing. Usually, head of a state or a head of a country, they talk with the US president, US head of the state, right? So if it is if he, that means he is not belongs to a simple province. He is not a federal. He is not having a federal power. He that Xiang when he considered himself as the head of the state, and the US also discussed with them. US also President elect Donald Trump. He talked. He made a conversation. Under state administration, US-China relationship warmed. That means it has developed, right? Warmed means developed. In March 8, 2018, Trump signed into law of the Taiwan Travel Act, which allows American officials to step up exchanges with Taiwan. So they developed started development of Taiwan in 2018. Over the last 6 years, US has approved multiple sales of arms to Taiwan, including 108 M1A2T Abrams tanks, Hercules armored vehicles, heavy equipment transporters, rocket launchers, sensors, artillery, and most importantly, the F-66, F-16 Viper fighter jets it has supplied to Taiwan, which is fully against the interest of China. So the military cooperation between Taiwan and the US is increasing. US is developing the capacity, the military capacity to defend itself from China, and which is a unprecedented move in the US-China politics. China always want to keep US away from Taiwan, and it considers Taiwan is its integral part, right? And as US is supplying, see, this is not a common thing. It's like USA will supply, for example, in case of India, if that happens, if USA will hard USA supply arms to Kashmir, it would have been a big I mean it's a tremendous underdevelopment we can see between India and US. That will happen, right? It's an unusual situation in case of China. China do not want any type of military cooperation or any engagement in between USA and China, but it is developing after 2018. So military cooperation between USA and China is increasing. Or China is accusing the USA that interfering in its internal affairs. China view of all this as US attempt to use Taiwan to contain the peaceful rise. Right? The views of China is that USA want to contain the PRC's peaceful rise, emboldening Taiwan's pro-independent separatist activists. They want a peaceful rise. It says that the principle of China is not political democracy; it's economic democracy. That means it's an economic democracy. Rather than political rights, what is important is economic development. It doesn't mean that you enjoy your right of free speech when you are in property. First, the most important thing is rather than entertaining the right to free speech, rather it is important to come out of poverty. Right? That is the principle of economic democracy. So it is also want to contain the Taiwan's pro-independent separatist activities and impacting cross-strait harmony. Right? So this so China is accusing US that it is interfering in domestic matters. It is fueling the pro-independent separatist activities. United States. Taiwan is just one aspect of ocean geopolitical checkerboard between US and China. Antagonistic stances are security, economics, technology, and ideology have crystallized the Biden administration with limited room for adjustment. The US have carried out diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics, added more Chinese companies to trade restriction list, Congress has passed bill to counter China human rights abuses in Xinjiang. In Xinjiang province, there is human rights violation against Uyghur Muslims, which is many times raised by the US and the media and the international media. China says it is an internal matter, and China do not want to share any such information in the outside world. Right. So there is conflict in both the in case of security. China, USA is, for example, US has been signed deal with. It is also served by India. So now at present time, the relationship between India and China, it has India and USA, it has gone to a next level of cooperation, right? Both countries are cooperating in every manner, right? The relationship has strengthened like never before because USA think India is the ideal pivot state against China, right? And because of the strategic position of India in the Indian Ocean, it makes it relevant. And USA is the defense partnership between USA and India, it has reached next level at the during the period of Trump regime as well. So this makes China uncomfortable. The rise of India and the cooperation between India and USA, that is also, it says that it's a policy against to contain the rise of People Republic of China. The Trump administration has opened more confrontational era in relations with China, opened a more confrontational era in relations with China. Biden has concretized his approach by signing AUKUS trilateral security pact. UK and Australia. Yes, this AUKUS trilateral security pact. It is very also important. That is providing the Australia various maritime various different partnership, strengthening with Australia, providing them various submarines and to ensure maritime security, develop its navy in the Indo-Pacific region. There is AUKUS trilateral security pact between UK, Australia, and US to counter Chinese activity. Primarily, the objective is to counter Chinese activity in the Indo-Pacific region. Right? They are strengthening the capacity of Australia to fight with China. The following the Russian invasion of Ukraine, there was concern in the Western capitals over the whether China could carry out similar action Taiwan. Against this background, Speaker Pelosi's trip to Taiwan has led some security scholars to predict a fourth Taiwan state crisis. So, some security scholars, there may be a Taiwan state crisis, there may be a democracy upheaval in case of Taiwan. This may happen, and this may make China uncomfortable. Russia has also invaded Ukraine, right? So this is one type of wave also you can see. So such type of things may happen. So that's makes China insecure. What happened? The reactions to Pelosi visit in China and Taiwan. What happened? The reactions. China has imposed restrictions on the import of Taiwanese food plants and has announced military exercises in areas surrounding Taiwan between August 4 and 7. Right. PLS Eastern Theater Command, which is responsible for contingencies against Taiwan, has said that these exercises will not include joint maritime aerial drills on north, south, and southeast of Taiwan, long range firing in Taiwan Strait, and conventional missile firing in the waters of East Taiwan. So, these are military exercises that is that will be announced around Taiwan. Before Pelosi's arrival, major Taiwanese government websites, including president official website, went dark due to alleged distributor denial of service attack. Major Taiwanese government websites, including President official website, went dark due to this denial of service attack, DDoS attack, which is a cyber attack. Hours after Pelosi 27 warplanes entered Taiwan's air defense zone. 27 Chinese warplanes entered the Taiwan's air defense zone. Taiwanese lawmakers cutting across the party lines, including the DPP and Chinese Nationalist Party, have welcomed Pelosi's visit with high point US Taiwan relations. However, some academics have criticized the visit being reckless resulting needless escalation of tensions in the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan should not be on a cheap on the table on the great game of US-China conflict. They are because the whole world is already in this because of the post-COVID world. Post-COVID world where it is already in this, and there is the low growth. There is low growth, right? There is a low growth in whole world after the post COVID economic situation, right? So that is one thing. Because of Russia and Ukraine war, also the whole world has suffered. There is a breakdown of supply chain. There is increase rise of fuel prices. There is inflation is rising in various countries. Many countries like China, many countries are suffering from heavy inflation, and some countries like Sri Lanka is going to economic crisis. Many countries are falling in the. There is probability of recession in many countries. So such type of things are undergoing in the at present world order. But there is another reaction that is taking place in that is between USA and China that may also aggrave the situation. The whole world will be in the mood of land grabbing or change, sudden change. Suddenly many countries will fall into debt trap, and also inflation will be witnessed in many countries. There will be the trade relations will go bad and will get worse, and also the economic loss of all the countries will suffer because there will be breakdown of supply chain, right? So in such a situation, in such a fragile situation of the world order, in such a fragile situation of the world economic order, any such times should be need to be condemned because this will rise unnecessary tensions, right? We at present time we cannot afford such an unnecessary tension because if economic supply chain breaks between USA and China, if anything like that happen, the whole world will suffer, and there will be whole world economic crisis again will face. There will be multiple job losses, there will be multiple problems, and we are not completely out of COVID at present. There are other issues like monkeypox is already developing in whole that is declared by WHO as a disease of health concern, right? So in such a situation getting involved in again the conflict involved in the conflict between USA and China, and that is and getting entering the Chinese internal spaces in case of Taiwan, that will be dangerous for the whole world, and not only for the China. And because we don't know the repercussions, there will be where there will be huge blood, there I mean huge bloodbath or similar type of war that may get created and conflict and killing of innocent lives that may also happen if that development starts. The case of China is trying to deter Taiwan by using punishment Taiwan, and US pushing back against Chinese aggression using derived technical techniques. Right. It is pushing back against Chinese aggression using denial techniques. China is likely to make sure that it punishes Taiwan to the extent that it visits such as Pelosi's are deterred in the future. Right? China want to punish Taiwan so that such type of developments will never they will thought of such type of developments. That is development is visited by the Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi. This might include economic measures, limited military measures for signaling, select diplomatic measures across bilateral and multilateral forums, and offensive cyber coercion. Limited military measures and selected diplomatic measures across bilateral multilateral forums and offensive cyber coercion. Because already that has happened when the DDoS attack in Taiwan. President website, all these things are hampered by it. In response, Taiwan and US likely to continue to build denial. Yes, China and US, Taiwan and US continue to build denial defensive capabilities so that China's aggression is not encouraged. China's aggression because they continue to build denial defensive capabilities. That means so that we can deny any such allegations. US also continues signaling the increasing presence to resolve in the region by conducting freedom of navigation operations in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea. But at the same time, keep lines communication open with China to avoid unintended excavations. So safely, small and little development that US want in case of Taiwan, but Chinese do not have any such options, and it is going against. Okay, now polity. Understanding the provisions for foreign visits of state government ministers. There is an issue that Delhi Lieutenant Governor Vinay Kumar Saxena recently advised the Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal against attending the World Cities Summit at Singapore as it was for mayors of cities. Now, State Transport Minister Kailash Gehlot, who has also sought political clearance from official to London, has moved to Delhi High Court with a plea to set aside the need for travel clearances by the centre for private foreign visits of the state government ministers. He has also asked for the framing of appropriate guidelines with respect to clearances of official foreign tours of chief minister and other state members. So there is a issue. There is a issue. There is a mayor summit in the summit, mayors of cities summit in Singapore, and the chief minister of Delhi they wanted to join it, and that permission was not given by the central government because in such cases central government gives such type of permissions. Right. When did Chief Minister Anil Kapoor seek approval for Singapore visit? According to the petition, April 5, Chief Minister received the invitation from Minister in the Prime Minister's office and Second Minister of Finance and Development Singapore to participate in the World Cities Summit. Right. The Chief Minister received an invitation from the Minister and Prime Minister's office and Second Minister of Finance to participate in the World Cities Summit scheduled from 2000 July 31 to August. The state government deputy security protocol, through a letter dated June 3, requested that all necessary clearances and arrangements for the visit be made. In June 7, the file was submitted to sign of the LG office. In June 3, petitioners have applied the political clearance for this official visit to London from July 12 to 10. This is not necessary. Dates are not necessary, but just undergo the things, right? The chronology. Additionally, the petition also mentioned that another instance where political clearance for Delhi Chief Minister proposed visit to Copenhagen for attending 7th C40 World Mayor Summit in October 2009 was rejected by the MEA without providing any reasons. Under which provision approvals are required. On August 16, 1982, the Cabinet Secretary had issued an office memorandum. The Cabinet Secretary has issued an office memorandum titled Guidelines regarding the foreign travel ministers of state government, union territories, and state government officials, stating that foreign visits by members of the state governments in their official capacity would require clearances from the Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Home Affairs, Finance Ministry, and Central Administrative Ministry. This issued another order in dated in the same. So there is such type of approval require the central government permission from Minister of External Affairs and Minister of Home Affairs, Finance Ministry, and Central Administrative Ministry. The Secretariat circulated another order in 2004, modifying the provisions to the extent that the final orders were being issued by the Finance Ministry. Further, the directive dated to November 2004 stipulated the Chief Minister required further approval from Prime Minister office before an official visit. They required further approval from the Prime Minister office. These rules are made in 2004. On August 2010, yet another office memorandum made political clearance mandatory before private visits of ministers to state governments which was rated through an order in 2015. So all the orders, that is since 2004 or since 1982, it says that there should be political clearances be is mandatory from the Prime Minister office or the Finance Ministry or the that is predominantly the central government is essential for any private visits of any state ministers to that is to foreign countries. The petition seeks quashing of 2010 and 2015 office memoranda, which requires state government ministers to ask political clearances uh, to visit abroad. So that state governments they want to visit abroad on their own permission. This petition seeks quashing of this official memoranda. Okay. So what followed approval were sought. As no decision of the application was received from the MEA, the petitioner wrote to the ministry in June 27, raising concerns. He also sought data on the number of such clearances rejected in the past 5 years. Right. The application sought data number of such clearances rejected in past time. Another letter was sent by July 4, asking the statutory and constitutional grounds for statutory and constitutional grounds for denial of travel clearances. On what grounds has a petition been filed? The petition argues that needs for political clearance from NVA, Minister of Personal Foreign Visits of state government ministers, violates the right to privacy and dignity of the constitutional office. That the undated LG letter advising against the proposed Singapore visit is beyond the jurisdiction of his office authority. That the use of gross delay and ineffectively deny clearances for official foreign visits, including Chief Minister's Singapore visit, is an arbitrary non-exercise of power and the matter of implementation is relevant of his memoranda for clearance for official visits, suffer the vice of arbitrariness and unchallenged discretion. So it says that there should be federal power, there should be federal power with the chief minister office because India is a federal and there is federalism and the central different power, state has different power. So based on the federal power, state governments should not require any permission from the central government to visit foreign countries, right? But it also says that LG do not have the permission to the state government ministers, right? So it also says that what are the constitutional statutory grounds on which central government deny. What is the power that central government lies with respect to it, so that it deny the permission to the state governments for foreign visits, state government ministers or the foreign visits, and both as their constitutional heads, their constitutional authority. It affects the dignity of a constitutional authority to go for foreign visits because it is not only in case of because state government has they have also the many times state governments and some state governments they want to develop their relationship with foreign countries to the open for example opening of yes office in foreign countries so that they can chamber any foreign country so that they can facilitate trade, that particular state can facilitate trade with those countries. Such type of developments has also seen in case of in past. So it states that such type of rules are arbitrary and capricious implementation. There is arbitrary implementation. In some cases, their permissions are given. In some cases, permissions are not given. Of the travel clearance of office memoranda is against national interest and good governance. Impinges upon the right to travel abroad is granted under Article 21. Under Article right to travel, so the petition says that, but right to travel abroad is individual interest. It can go in individual capacity, but here the issue is that right to travel abroad is for citizens who want to travel abroad in personal capacity, but it is whether that right to travel is also ongoing abroad, that is a principle of constitutional that is money to constitutional authorities by using state fund is a question. Now that petition is there, so that's why it's a issue between the central government and the Delhi Chief Minister that is present now. Okay, next one mains question we'll discuss, that is customs and traditions suppress region leading to obscurantism. How much we should respect our customs, how much we should respect our traditions, and how much we should go for reason. There are two different components. Reason means that is justification. There should be logic in case of religion, but customs and tradition usually we don't have any logic. They do not, suppose for example, belief and faith. They are also important. That is, they are also mandated under Constitution Article 25, 26, 27. So all the freedom of religion especially, and the basis of freedom of religion is based on personal beliefs. If somebody want to believe for the particular thing, unless and until that violate the human rights or that violate the rights of other citizens, such type of beliefs need to be preserved. Right? For example, religious rights. If you want to perform a puja in your house, states should not have any interference, should not have any interference with respect to that. But how much customs and traditions that should prejudice? Because many times we have seen that there are oppressive traditions. For example, there is sati, there is sati, there is sati for sati was in it was a it was in news. It was equivalent social customs in pre-independence times, and the predominantly by the efforts of Raja Ram Mohan Roy and other social activists, sati was banned by Lord Bentinck in 2000, in 1920, in 1829. That was also a custom, but that was a wrong custom because that was violating the human rights of another persons, forcefully burning a particular person just because her husband has died. So we should not entertain all the traditions. We should not entertain all the traditions, like the tradition of triple talaq that was present before few years. And anytime a Muslim man he can just utter talaq, 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 and the women got divorced without their consent. Right? Without her consent, for little mistakes, many times they get the talaq just by a simple procedure of talaq, talaq, talaq. And what happens by this simple talaq? And again, that women, if they want to stay together, the women will go for halala. Halala means that will be punishment for him. That is that they have to go through another man, establishing physical relationship with another man. That will be the punishment. And again, if you want to marry the her first husband, will return to him after the physical relations with the another person. That is halala. So such type of practices like sati, like halala, such type of practices in customs that violate the human rights and also rights of equality. So such type of should we continue with such traditions? Answer is no. But also some traditions need to be respected. For example, we can take the help of Sabarimala case. In case of Sabarimala, there is a thing that only men will worship and certain age, the reproductive age of women, they are not allowed to go to the Sabarimala temple. That is not forbidden for all women, that is only forbidden for certain age, women of certain age. In that case go to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave a verdict that all women can go there irrespective of their age. Now that led to a big law and order issue, and that hampered the faith of that institution. We have to understand and Supreme Court again hold on its order. The reason is that the faith is something different from reason. We should not see reason in every faith. Right? Unless and until it is hampering the human rights of a particular person, the rights of another person. There are so many temples throughout India, anywhere women can go and pray where they want. If a single temple, it has some rules because the inherent existence of a particular of a religious institution, its own rules, its own customs. If you destroy the customs, the religious institution itself gets destroyed. So, in such a situation, whether the right is important, the political right is important, or the existence of religious religion is important. That is the matter of the debate. So that again, so in that case of Sabarimala, also there is a stay, and there is now the customs are ongoing like the previous. And states should not interfere too much in case of religion. That hampers the religious belief itself, that destroy the religious institution itself. Because the basis of every religious institution is their customs and traditions. And customs and traditions is the identity of a particular culture. We cannot delete all the customs and tradition of a particular society and expect that they will exist. We have to celebrate the diversity of India with the diversity of culture. Right? Just on the basis of region, if we cannot see the reason everywhere. Right? So, because there is also emotional fulfillment. This custom traditions they provide emotional fulfillment, which reason cannot. Reason provides can provide us material fulfillment in many times, in most of the cases. So, what should be the balance? Now that is the question. Custom are traditional and widely accepted in course to behave or do something that is clearly defined for it to a particular society. It is clearly defined to a particular society, that is customs. The social laws are customs. Where traditions are about transmissions of of these customs or beliefs from generation to generation. Transmission of customs from beliefs from generation to generation is a tradition. The fact that they have been passed in this manner, unless customs are followed and practiced with lots of self-control discipline, they cannot pass from one generation to another as unique cultural tradition specific to their society. This means it is limited, in fact, no scope for change. Right? The fact about tradition is that there is no scope of change. They require self-control and discipline in a particular manner, and that get transferred from one society to another society. Now, how customs and traditions suppress rationality? We counter frequently the tradition in our daily lives, starting from the harmless ones to the most brutal and inhuman customs. There are most brutal and inhuman customs as well, right? For example, some people we see they harm themselves and work on the fire, administrate their traditions, right? They exist. Some of them that prevail in India are as follows: maid snana is a ritual. Devotees roll over food by Brahmins to cure skin diseases. The devotees roll over leftover foods by the Brahmins to cure skin diseases. Right? Marriage problems and infertility. It is conducted during the 3 day annual celebration outside the cook Subramaniam temple, Dakshina Kannada district between November to December. It is also practiced in the parts of Tamil Nadu. Medstam is such type of persons that hamper the human dignity of those sections and create the distinguish between different sections of the society. Right? It one type of it is providing strengthening the caste system, right, and creating the problem in the society. We can call this it is obscurantism. Right? Madhesnana. Right? Epizeme is another name given to the procedures that involve altering or injuring the female genitalia for non-medical and cultural reasons. For cultural reasons, that injuring the female genitalia, that is female genital mutilation, right, and is recognized internationally as a violation of human rights, the health and integrity of girls and women. It is one of the most brutal ritual that is practiced in various countries, including India, among the Dawoodi Bohra community. Female genital mutilation. So this is violation of human rights. Next, self-flagellation is a ritual of religious significance done in the name of atonement of one's sins. Practiced widely even today, the people engaging themselves in the act of confess. that do not experience any sort of pain. They are in a religious trance. This ritual involving hitting oneself with a whip of chains, hitting oneself self in a whip of chains with such blades, practiced in the Christian communities in the Philippines, Mexico on Good Friday, and among Shia sect of Islam countries like India, Pakistan, Iraq, Lebanon, and month of during the month of Muharram. Right. So beating himself by attached chains and blades, that is a violation, hell farming, such type of brutal things are in the name done in the name of traditions. The Devdasi is a Sanskrit term. Devdasi means servant of Deva or God, Devi. It's a kind of religious practice carried out basically in the southern part of India, in which a girl in her pre-puberty period was dedicated to worship and service of deity or a temple for rest of her life by the parents. They will be see in the pre-puberty period. That means when a girl is a child, if he is given a particular task from the parents, he has she don't know about what she is doing, right? Because the mental maturity, the cerebral cortex can become mature at the age of 25. So the decision making capacity of a girl is not that much of mature at that age. Pre-puberty means below the age of 12 years, and sometimes it is below the age of 10 years also. So in such a time, the life of girl is decided by their parents, and they are given to the temple, and that violates the individual dignity of that individual liberty of that particular girl. So such type of practices are even prevalent inside India, Arab countries, and in all religions like Hinduism, Christianity, and also in Islam. How it leads to obscurantism. Often these traditions are justified using the pseudoscience or interpretation of religious texts. Interpretation of religious texts and pseudoscience. Right? Various interpretation they justify it. For example, Triple Talaq and Nikah Halal has been defended irrationally by quoting various texts. Various Islamic texts, various intellectuals, they have been defending Triple Talaq and Nikah Halala, saying that it is a religious practice of the Muslims, and the minority customs and traditions should be preserved for the cultural integrity of India. Right. Despite the ban of the entry of women against the right to equality as instituted in the Constitution, it has also defended. It is in some level of case, it is also defended that despite the ban of entry of women against the right of equality. But okay, there is a Supreme Court has put a hold on it. See the change in these customs. See there is a slight difference in both the cases. A slight different in both the cases. The cases is that right the nikah law is applicable for all the women, Muslim women, but the Sabarimala case it is only women are prohibited in for one particular temple. That is not for all the temples. Although it is violative of the right to equality, but it can be also. This was the argument against the Sabarimala, but to the Supreme Court that it's not that if we forbid women to all the temples, then that is violation of equality. If in one particular temple, if women of a particular age is not allowed, that is the it's not a women are not allowed. Women of a particular age is not allowed. That's why it cannot be called as the violation of equality against women. That is the argument against Savarna. But so this led to obscurantism. Since the change in these customs is not welcomed at all, that is not welcomed by those communities initial changes. The justification even suppress the reason of greatest importance. Sometimes they stand so rigid that the reason looks completely helpless and further leads to obscurantism. This obscurantism protects these customs and traditions from reason, evolution of human and dynamic social order. So such traditions continues, right? Communal politics, lack of spirit, rationality, lack of education further aggravates the situation. Communal politics, lack of spirit of rationality, right? So in the developing countries, especially where in prismatic societies, it is called as one term is called as prismatic society. Prismatic society means uh, that is the when a society is coming from a traditional society and becoming modern, that is called as prismatic society. Prismatic society, communal politics exists, and spirit of rationality. Simultaneously, there is rationality, and simultaneously there is lack of education. There is lack of rationality, and there is also communal politics, as in case of India. In such countries, this obscurantism and justification of violation of human right also becomes is acceptable by the society, right? So So, what the conclusion is? In a democratic society polity, whenever there is a conflict between reason and customs, state apparatus, especially judiciary, has a tax to strengthen the idea of rationality. In many cases, states too struggles in will. This is the reason that despite Constitution Article 51A directs the state to develop the scientific temper, humanism, spirit of inquiry, reform among the citizens, still situation is far from a desired result. Customs and tradition need to make people rational beings taking account of reasons rather than becoming reason of for obscurantism, ignorance, and faithlessness. The violation of human rights should not happen because of traditions. Right. So the lectures end here. Like this video, share this video, and encourage us